When survival means choosing between loyalty and protecting a world's lifeblood, will Commander Kane risk everything to save Velkara from his own people? Don't miss out on the best. Subscribe now to my YouTube channel and join this amazing community. Every week, new adventures, tips, and much more await you. Hit the subscribe button and activate the bell to stay always up to date. On the distant and shadowed planet Velkara, Commander Darius Kane and his squad arrive in search of Ambrium, a valuable energy resource. Genesis Corporation has sent them to secure an extraction zone, as Earth urgently needs resources, though Kane knows this mission is also driven by corporate greed. With a toxic atmosphere and increased gravity, Velkara requires the soldiers to wear armored suits as they move through a hostile, dark landscape, where every step feels like an invasion of foreign, dangerous territory. Alongside Kane, his lieutenant, Mara Lynx, carefully studies the terrain, aware of blurred figures moving among the dark trees. The natives of Velkara are mysterious and still unknown to the squad, but they are ready to advance cautiously in search of the extraction zone. The oppressive atmosphere and the feeling of being watched heighten the tension among the soldiers as Kane faces the responsibility of leading his team on a planet that seems resistant to their presence. As they advance through Velkara's dense vegetation, the squad begins to notice unusual activity on their sensors, detecting creatures and movements in the shadows. When they halt and form a defensive perimeter, a mysterious figure emerges from the trees, a tall, slender native with organic armor and intensely bright blue eyes. Kane, cautious, orders his soldiers not to fire, seeking to establish communication before sparking a conflict. With the help of a translation module, Kane manages to speak with the native Tharek, who questions the human's presence on his world. Tharek explains that Ambrium is sacred and vital to life on Velkara, warning Kane of the dangers of exploiting it. Tharek's words stir uncertainty in Kane, who begins to realize that Velkara is not merely a resource but a complex ecosystem with a profound spiritual connection for its inhabitants. After the initial contact, Kane and his squad are invited to a native village, a community nestled within the jungle where every structure seems to pulse with life. Kane converses with the village elders, who explain that Ambrium is the essence of Velkara, connecting all life forms in a symbiotic network that maintains the planet's balance. Intrigued, Kane proposes a temporary alliance. The squad would help protect the village in exchange for learning more about the planet. Despite their reservations, the elders accept the agreement, though not everyone in the squad agrees. Mara, in particular, remains distrustful of the natives, seeing them as a potential threat. However, Kane decides to trust the natives, aware that any misstep could lead to conflict. Thus, a fragile alliance is formed, with both groups trying to coexist and collaborate on a planet where everything is interconnected. The village's peace is shattered when a horde of insectoid creatures emerges from the jungle, attacking with speed and aggression. The squad and the natives unite in a desperate defense, fighting side by side to repel the assault. During the battle, Mara and Tharek prove their ability to work together, covering each other despite their initial differences, while Kane realizes that the alliance with the natives is essential to facing Velkara's dangers. In the end, they manage to repel the threat, though they suffer significant casualties on both sides. After the battle, a mutual respect forms between the soldiers and the natives, who express their gratitude for the squad's bravery. Kane understands that Velkara is more than just a resource and that the planet reacts fiercely to any threat. The experience strengthens the alliance between the two groups and confirms to Kane that they are now involved in a deeper, more complex war. The village elders lead Kane and his squad to a sacred cave, where they discover that Velkara is connected by an underground network of Ambrium, sustaining life and balance across the planet. The elders warn that Ambrium extraction is damaging this network, awakening creatures, and destabilizing the ecosystem. Kane, torn between duty and conscience, realizes that continuing extraction endangers not only Velkara but all its inhabitants. In an attempt to find a solution, the elders offered to teach them how to use Ambrium in a less destructive way, and Eden begins studying how to scientifically demonstrate this interconnection. While Kane and his squad help repair damage in the village, Mara starts to recognize the value of the native culture. Kane drafts a report detailing his findings, hoping Genesis will understand the gravity of the situation, though he knows this could cost him his career. Eden immerses herself in studying Ambrium, discovering how this underground energy network connects all life on Velkara, maintaining its balance. Each new finding confirms the elders' theory about the importance of Ambrium as the foundation of existence on the planet. However, Mara remains skeptical, doubting that Genesis, with its economic interests, will take these findings into account. Kane, whose perspective has changed, begins to consider the possibility of standing against Genesis to defend Velkara and its inhabitants. Meanwhile, the natives start seeing the soldiers as allies rather than intruders, recognizing their effort to help and learn about their culture. Tharek, who initially distrusted the humans, now guides them in building defenses and leveraging the environment to protect the village. However, the bond between the two groups remains delicate, and Kane knows any misstep could ruin the peace. He decides to send a detailed report to his superiors at Genesis, hoping they will understand the gravity of the situation. Kane's report generates conflict within the squad, as some soldiers loyal to Genesis question the direction they have taken. Mara confronts Kane, expressing concern over the risks of challenging the corporation and reminding him that their return and survival depend on Genesis. For Kane, the mission has evolved, and he feels a responsibility to protect Velkara from irreversible damage, even if it means facing his superiors. Meanwhile, Genesis continues extraction in other areas of Velkara, ignoring Kane's warnings. Tharek and the elders fear that this activity may awaken even more dangerous forces on the planet, and signs of disturbances in the ground and flora confirm their fears. The situation in the settlement becomes tense and grim as Kane feels torn between his loyalty to Genesis and his commitment to Velkara. Finally, he sends a direct message to his superiors, asking them to halt operations, even knowing that this decision might jeopardize his career. The night after Kane's message, Velkara reacts violently, with tremors shaking the ground as if the planet itself were expressing its anger. The natives interpret this as a warning from the Ambrium network, which is being disrupted so intensely that it may unleash uncontrollable forces. Kane receives a response from Genesis, rejecting his request to halt extraction and warning him of consequences if he interferes with operations. The corporation is determined to exploit Ambrium, considering Kane's concerns a betrayal. Desperate and aware that the planet is on the brink of catastrophe, Kane gathers his team and explains Genesis's plans and the imminent danger. Some soldiers express doubts, but others decide to join him in protecting Velkara. Even Mara, though still divided, acknowledges the risk and agrees to help Kane. They determine that their only option is to sabotage the extraction facilities in the areas where the Ambrium network is most vulnerable, hoping to save the planet before it's too late. Kane and his squad infiltrate the extraction facilities, using secret routes shown to them by Tharek and avoiding patrols of soldiers loyal to Genesis. The natives help disorient the guards and create distractions, allowing the squad to move undetected. Once inside, the team splits up to plant explosives at strategic points, targeting the main extraction lines to stop the destructive process. With Eden disabling the alarms and Mare excelling in the mission, tension rises as the systems begin to detect anomalies. Finally, they manage to plant the charges and escape before being discovered. The ensuing explosion is an act of liberation for the squad, though they know this will provoke a fierce response from Genesis. Kane and his team are aware that there's no turning back and are ready to face the consequences of their act of rebellion. Genesis responds to the sabotage with fury, sending reinforcements and issuing orders to capture Kane and his team, now considered deserters and traitors. However, the sacrifice has been worth it. The planet's sensors show that the Ambrium network is beginning to stabilize. With the help of Tharek and the natives, the squad hides in a cave system, preparing for a final defense in case Genesis forces find them. Kane, aware that their fight might end in tragedy, gathers his soldiers to thank them for their bravery and remind them that they defended something beyond their original mission. In his words, each finds renewed purpose. Despite the odds, they decide to confront Genesis, not only for Velkara, but for the honor of defending something just, even at the cost of their own lives. United with the natives, they prepare for the final battle, knowing they have made history by fighting for dignity, respect, and the hope of a future where humans and natives can coexist in harmony. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and comment.